Another thing that is super simple to do in Reaktor, super cool, and just one of those basic features that you find in a lot of synthesizers. The good news is that it's just as simple as all the other pitch stuff that we've been talking about recently. I'll set up a new ensemble here, and we can go ahead and delete our inputs. And I'm going to get a sine oscillator, our trusty old friend. We'll do a simple AR envelope that is using our gate signal to trigger notes. And then we'll bring our pitch information from our note pitch MIDI in, connect this to our outputs. So what is pitch bend? The pitch bend value in MIDI terms is another value from 0 to 127 with the default at 64. So when the pitch bend wheel is sitting in the middle, the value of that control is 64. When it's all the way down, it's 0. And when it's all the way up, it's 127. Reaktor implements pitch bend a little bit differently. We have a module for pitch bend. It's called pitch bend MIDI in. If we click on it and we look over at the properties, in the function tab, we can see that it has a range from 2 to -2. So instead of sending traditional MIDI information like 0 to 127, Reaktor makes it a little easier to work with. And all we have to do is add the value of our pitch bend module to our note pitch MIDI in. And it works. Now, we can customize it though. Most commonly, a pitch bend wheel on a synthesizer is going to have a range of 2 semitones. That means that when I hit middle C and I turn the pitch bend wheel all the way up, it's going to go one whole step up. It goes up to D. And the same thing applies if I go down. Remember, a whole step is 2 half steps, and each key on the keyboard, regardless if it's black or white, the next key is a half step, right? So we could make this whatever we wanted to. We could do an octave. Now I would expect it to go from middle C to the next C up, right? Cool, awesome. But if you notice, you could hear a little bit of clicking in there. Let's see if we can hear this at 2 semitones. I can hear it. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear it and it really bugs me. So what we're gonna do is put in an event smoother. And even though this is an audio input, Reaktor still lets you connect an event rate signal to it. Now, the event smoother is going to have a smoothing time, all right? And at its default of 100, it's gonna introduce a noticeable delay. It's gonna feel weird when you're playing it. I would opt for something like 10 milliseconds. It's gonna get rid of those jumps that you're hearing. We might be able to go up to something like 16 milliseconds without really noticing the delay that it introduces. So now, if you want to give yourself a little bit more flexibility, what you can do is set the default range to 1 semitone, and then we could add a multiply with a control, and we could call this control bend range. Now, if we set this to let's say a maximum of 12 semitones for an octave and a minimum of 1, default would be 1, and the step size will be 1 so that we can kind of tune it in a way that makes sense. We can increase the mouse resolution to 300. The mouse resolution is just going to mean that you're going to have to drag the mouse farther up and down to turn the knob. 300 is maybe a little much, maybe 200 is probably. Yeah, that's about good. Now we can set it to our default will be 2 because that's the most common, right? So it'll probably start out at 2. And then if we wanted to go up to an octave, we could. Okay. So that's, in a nutshell, how you implement pitch bend in Reaktor. In the next video, we're going to talk about how to set up vibrato very quickly and save it as a macro so that you don't have to build vibrato each time because it's a little bit more involved. I'll throw a link up to it right there, and yeah, you check that out.